He walked out on me Christmas Eve. By New Year's Day, fate collected my tears with interest. They say Christmas is about love, warmth, and miracles. But on Christmas Eve, the man I planned forever with packed as lies shattered my heart and walked out of my apartment like I meant nothing. What he didn't know was that by New Year's Day, the universe would rewrite my story and make him a footnote in his own betrayal. The snow outside my Manhattan apartment window looked peaceful. Inside, my life was bleeding. Ethan stood by the door, his coat already on, keys clenched in his fist like a verdict had been reached without my defense. The Christmas tree lights flickered behind him, the same tree we picked together in Brooklyn 2 weeks earlier, laughing, planning a wedding we would now never have. "I can't do this anymore, Evelyn," he said, avoiding my eyes.
I felt my knees weaken.
"Do what? Love me? Marry me in 4 months?" He exhaled sharply, annoyed. As if my heartbreak inconvenienced him. "You're too much. Too serious. I need space."
Space.
On Christmas Eve, I searched his face for hesitation, for guilt. I found none. "Is there someone else?" My voice cracked. Silence. That was answer enough. The room smelled like cinnamon candles and roasted chicken, the dinner I cooked for us. For him. My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped the engagement ring box still sitting unopened on the counter. He had insisted we exchange gifts after dinner.
Dinner never came.
"I'll come by after New Year's to get the rest of my things," he added coldly. Just like that, he stepped out.
The door closed.
And something inside me died with the sound. I didn't cry immediately. Shock wrapped around me like ice. I stood there, staring at the door for almost an hour, hoping, foolishly, that he would knock. That he'd say he made a mistake. He didn't. Eventually, my legs gave out, and I slid down against the kitchen cabinet, my back pressed to cold wood, my wedding planner notebook still open on the counter. Venue deposits. Guest lists. Color palettes. I laughed. Then I sobbed. Hard. Ugly. The kind of crying that empties your lungs and leaves your chest burning. I slid the engagement ring onto my finger just to feel something. Pain, maybe. It was beautiful. Oval cut. Platinum band. I had loved it once. At 2:13 a.m., my phone buzzed.
Not Ethan.
It was my best friend, Maya, calling from Chicago. I ignored it. I didn't want comfort. I wanted answers. Instead, I opened Ethan's laptop, the one he forgot on the couch. I wasn't snooping. I was surviving.
What I found would change everything.
His laptop unlocked easily. Our anniversary. That should have been my first clue. An email was open already. Subject line. Aspen confirmed. December 26th, red heart. My heart stopped. I clicked. Hotel reservations. 2 guests. 1 king bed. His name and another woman's. My vision blurred as I scrolled. Messages.
Flights.
Photos I had never seen. Ethan smiling in ways he hadn't smiled with me in months. She was younger. Blonde. Effortlessly carefree. And then I saw it. A forwarded contract draft. Equity transfer agreement. My breath caught. Ethan wasn't just leaving me.
He had been using me.
The business I helped him build, the marketing firm I funded when he was between jobs, was about to be quietly transferred. Without my name. The betrayal wasn't just romantic. It was financial.
Strategic.
Calculated. And suddenly, my tears dried. Something colder replaced them. By Christmas morning, I hadn't slept. I sat at the dining table, staring at the city skyline, replaying every red flag I ignored. Every time he minimized my contribution. Every time he joked about my money like it wasn't ours. I wasn't stupid. I was trusting. And trust had almost cost me everything. At 7:04 a.m. Maya showed up at my door unannounced, still in her coat, eyes full of fury when she saw my face. "Oh, hell no," she said. "We're not letting this slide." "I'm not," I replied quietly.
She paused.
That tone scares me. Good. Because while Ethan thought I was broken, grieving, disposable, I was planning. And the clock was ticking toward New Year's Day. That afternoon, I made 3 phone calls. My lawyer, my accountant, and an old mentor from Boston. The man who had originally helped structure Ethan's company. By sunset, I knew something Ethan didn't. The company wasn't fully his. And the contracts he forged? They were sloppy, illegal, and traceable. I looked at the Christmas lights glowing softly in my apartment, the same place he thought he'd abandoned me powerless. I smiled for the first time since he left. Let him enjoy Aspen. Let him think he won. Because by the time the ball dropped in Times Square, so would his world. On December 26th, Ethan posted the photo himself. Aspen, Colorado. Snow-dusted mountains. Fireplace glowing behind him. His arm wrapped around her. He looked happy.
Free.
Victorious. I stared at my phone in the quiet of my apartment, the city humming outside like it always had, indifferent to my pain. He hadn't blocked me. That wasn't an accident.
He wanted me to see it.
Wanted me to hurt. Maya watched my face carefully.
Say the word, she said.
I'll destroy him. I shook my head. Not yet. Because while Ethan was sipping champagne at a luxury lodge, he had no idea that my lawyer, Daniel Brooks, was reviewing documents he thought were buried forever. He had no idea that his clean exit had fingerprints all over it. That night, Daniel called. Evelyn, he said carefully, the equity transfer you mentioned? It's fraudulent. And worse, he forged your digital signature. I closed my eyes. Forgery meant leverage. Forgery meant consequences. And suddenly, Aspen didn't look so far away. Her name was Lila Monroe. I learned that from a tag story she posted, champagne flutes clinking, the caption reading, ending the year right. She worked in PR. That explained a lot. The polish, the curated happiness, the way Ethan suddenly started caring about appearances. I didn't hate her. Not yet. I hated the lie he told both of us. I spent the evening going through timelines, emails, bank transfers. Late nights he claimed were client emergencies. They all aligned now, like a puzzle finally honest with itself. At 11:38 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. I hope you're okay. This wasn't easy for me either. I laughed out loud. A sharp, bitter sound. I typed back.
I'm fine.
Enjoy Aspen. Then I turned my phone face down and got back to work. Because revenge wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be precise. On December 28th, I flew to Boston. Snow greeted me like a witness that remembered everything. My mentor, Richard Hale, was waiting in his office, the same man who once warned me about mixing love with business. I hadn't listened then. I was listening now. Ethan overplayed his hand, Richard said, adjusting his glasses. The company's IP? It was registered under your original concept. His attempt to move ownership without you triggers an automatic audit. I exhaled slowly. So if I file, he loses control. Instantly. My heart pounded, but my voice stayed calm. Before New Year's? Richard smiled. Oh, definitely before New Year's. As I left his office, Boston's streets glistened with melting snow. I felt lighter, not because the pain was gone, but because it had direction. Back at my hotel, I watched the city lights flicker. Ethan thought he walked away clean. He didn't realize he'd walked into history. December 29th, 9:12 a.m. I was packing when my phone rang. A San Diego number. I answered cautiously. Is this Evelyn Carter? A woman asked. Yes. This is Natalie Green. I work with Ethan. My stomach tightened. I thought you should know, she continued, voice low. He's been telling people you were unstable. That you sabotaged the relationship. That he had to escape. I closed my eyes. Of course he was. And? I asked quietly. And? Natalie said, that story didn't sit right with me. Especially after I saw your name missing from documents it should have been on. Silence stretched between us. I don't know what game he's playing, she added, but I don't want to be part of it. I thanked her and hung up. Even snakes leave trails. December 30th. New York City was buzzing, holiday crowds, countdown energy, champagne plans. No one knew that in a quiet law office on Lexington Avenue, Ethan's future was being rewritten. I signed the papers with steady hands. Fraud claim. Injunction. Ownership freeze.
Daniel looked at me.
Once this is filed, there's no undoing it. I met his gaze. I'm not undoing anything. I'm correcting it. At 4:46 p.m., the filing was complete. Ethan was officially locked out of accounts he thought were his. His investors would be notified within 48 hours. His Aspen fantasy was about to collide with reality. That night, my phone buzzed repeatedly. Missed calls, texts, voicemails. I didn't answer. I poured myself a glass of wine, stood by the window, and watched the city glow. New Year's Eve was coming, and this time, I was ready. Ethan finally understood something was wrong when his bank app wouldn't load. He called me 7 times before breakfast. I didn't answer. Instead, I stood in my apartment in Manhattan, wrapped in a robe, watching the gray winter skies stretch over the city. New Year's Eve had arrived quietly, like a judge taking their seat. At 8:47 a.m., Daniel called. He's been locked out of company accounts. Investors are receiving notifications as we speak. I closed my eyes. Somewhere in Aspen, champagne flutes were still on the counter, and a man who thought he had escaped consequences was staring at a screen that refused to obey him.
My phone buzzed again.
Evelyn, we need to talk. This is serious. I deleted the message. I wasn't interested in panic. I was interested in truth. By noon, Lila's profile went private. That told me everything. At 1:14 p.m., an unfamiliar number called. I answered. "This is Lila," she said, voice trembling. "I didn't know about you."
Not really.
I leaned against the counter, heart pounding but voice calm. "You knew he was engaged." She swallowed. "He said you were already done. That you refused to let go."
Of course he did.
"I'm not calling to fight you," she added quickly. The investors reached out. Things don't add up." "They won't," I said gently, "because the story you were told isn't the one that's real." Silence. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I believed her. Some betrayals wear perfume. Others wear lies. At 3:30 p.m., Maya called from Chicago, barely able to contain herself. "Evelyn, it's everywhere." "What is?" "Industry group chats. Slack threads. Ethan's name is being dragged through legal speculation like a crime scene." I felt a strange ache in my chest, not joy, not guilt. Release. By evening, I received 3 emails from former clients, people who had once dismissed me as Ethan's supportive fiancé. Now they were asking questions. Now they remembered who built the strategies, who stayed late, who made things work. I replied professionally, calmly. The truth doesn't scream. It waits. At 6:11 p.m., Ethan left a voicemail. I listened to it once. "Evelyn," his voice cracked. "Please. I don't know what's happening. Accounts are frozen. Investors won't answer. Lila left. I made a mistake. I deleted it. Not out of cruelty. Out of clarity. Regret without accountability is just fear wearing emotion." I stepped outside as fireworks testing echoed faintly in the distance. New York was preparing to celebrate. I was preparing to close a chapter. I had loved him. That didn't mean I had to save him. As the city counted down, I stood alone on my balcony.
10, 9, 8.
I thought of the woman I was a week ago, waiting by a Christmas tree for a man who had already left in his heart.
3, 2, 1.
Fireworks exploded across the skyline. I didn't cry. I smiled. Because somewhere between Christmas Eve and New Year's Day, I didn't just lose a fiancé. I found myself. And the reckoning? It wasn't finished yet. January 1st arrived, without fireworks for me. Just quiet. At 10:06 a.m., an email changed the tone of the year. Subject: Independent Leadership Proposal. One of the firm's largest investors wanted to meet, with me, not Ethan. They'd uncovered enough to question everything they thought they knew about the company's leadership. By noon, I was seated in a glass-walled office overlooking Midtown. You were always the stabilizer, the investor said. Ethan was the face. Faces crack. I folded my hands, steady. And what are you proposing? A pause. You. My heart beat louder than the city below. Ethan stopped calling. Not because he found peace. Because he ran out of answers. I heard through Natalie that he'd returned from Aspen early, alone. No grand exit. No triumphant post. Just a man carrying suitcases full of denial. The lease on his new San Diego apartment hadn't gone through. Neither had his funding. The life he traded me for evaporated quietly. That night, I poured tea and sat with the stillness. For the first time, I felt something unexpected. Not victory. Closure approaching. January 3rd. Chicago was cold and unforgiving. Perfect. I walked into the boardroom wearing charcoal gray, spine straight, heart calm. Faces that once overlooked me now studied every word I said. I didn't attack Ethan. I didn't insult him. I told the truth. About forged signatures. About risk exposure. About ethics. Silence followed. Then the vote. Ethan was removed, pending investigation. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. He showed up at my apartment unannounced. January 4th, 7:18 p.m.
I didn't let him in.
He stood in the hallway, eyes red, voice raw. You ruined me. I met his gaze through the door.
No.
I stopped protecting you. Silence. I loved you, he said. I know, I replied softly. That's why this hurts. Then I walked away. Some doors don't need slamming. They just need closing. On January 5th, my name appeared in an article. Not as a fiancé. Not as a footnote. As interim CEO. My phone buzzed nonstop. Congratulations, reconnections, possibilities. But what mattered wasn't the title. It was the woman in the mirror. She wasn't waiting anymore. She wasn't begging. She was building. And the final truth, the one Ethan hadn't yet faced, was still coming. I wrote Ethan a letter. Not to send, but to release. I thanked him for leaving on Christmas Eve. For forcing the truth into daylight. For underestimating the woman who loved him when he had nothing. I never mailed it. Some closures don't need witnesses. Instead, I folded it, placed it in a drawer, and stepped fully into my new role. Not hardened, not bitter, just awake. The hearing was brief. Evidence doesn't need theatrics. Forgery confirmed. Breach established. Liability assigned. Ethan's lawyer avoided my eyes. The judge spoke plainly. You gambled trust, she said, and lost. Ethan didn't look at me as the ruling landed. I didn't look at him either. Justice doesn't require eye contact. The board offered a settlement. Public apology. Full restitution.
Permanent removal.
I added one clause. No public humiliation.
No interviews.
No victory lap. Why? Someone asked. I answered honestly. Because my life doesn't need his downfall to rise. They agreed. That was the moment I truly won. Christmas returned. This time, I was in San Diego, standing on a balcony overlooking the ocean, warm wind, quiet joy, no shadows. The company thrived. My heart did too. Maya raised a glass beside me. To losing the wrong man. I smiled. To finding the right life. People ask how I survived being left on Christmas Eve. The truth? I wasn't abandoned. I was redirected. Ethan thought he ended my story. Instead, he revealed it. By New Year's Day, my life hadn't just changed, it had aligned. And that's the kind of revenge that lasts forever. Sometimes betrayal isn't meant to break you. It's meant to free you. And sometimes the greatest revenge is becoming the woman they never saw coming. Thank you for listening to my story. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my videos.
Thank you.